Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome back with me Zurina for today. And today we are doing our third topic of our module, being persuasive, which is on the template. Okay, so let's move on to the template that we have, which is the checklist first. Okay, now don't forget that whenever you do your own persuasive speech, you have to have a checklist. And this is the list of things that you can do when you look at for the checklist. So the first one, of course, you have to choose a topic that you would want your audience to be either indifferent or opposed to, or maybe favorable to you. And then, of course, the second one is to have your own materials and resources. So there are a few ways that you could do this. The first one is, of course, you may want to consult outside sources by doing interviews or maybe a questionnaire, like I mentioned in our previous topic. And of course, you may want to refer to newspapers, encyclopedia, dictionaries, the internet, books, academic journals, magazines, and anything that you think you could refer to. Now, the third one is you would want to prepare an opener to build your areas of agreement, or you would want to actually look at how you can open your speech. And of course, you have to prepare a very clear statement of purpose of your speech. Then you would want to have a preview of the main persuasive points. Normally, we would go to about 3 to 5 points. And then, of course, an outline for your body, and then the summary of the whole points that you are trying to make. And to make it memorable, have a very good concluding remarks. And then you have to also remember between the body, between the introduction or the summary and conclusion, you would want to prepare your transitions between all of these elements. And don't forget to also prepare visual aids. You may want to have an object that you're actually holding, or you may want to give a demonstrations, and you may want to add in charts and diagrams. Now, you have to always remember to always practice with these visual aids at least 3 times. Let's move on to the preparation worksheet that you could do when you're doing your persuasive speech. This is the list of it. Okay? So the first one, I would suggest that you choose 3 conventional topics that may be interesting to you, or again, maybe you won't want to share persuasively with your audience. And out of these 3 conventional topics, determine your purpose to speak about each of them. Then, of course, you have to formulate a specific statement for each of the topics that you have chosen. Remember to also choose now 1 topic, 1 purpose. With this specific claim, you would want to make it persuasive. The next one is write 3 reasons why you think people might be indifferent or favorable or opposed to the topic that you have chosen. Then you remember to have to prepare an opener of the area of the agreement that you're trying to make. Then state your persuasive claim. Of course, you have to write the main points of the body that you're trying to make, the ones that you had already listed earlier. And prepare a summary for this topic. Again, prepare a memorable concluding remark. Next, let's look at the example that I'm going to share with you on how you could do all of this. The first one, an introduction. Remember, I mentioned earlier that you need to do an opener to build your areas of agreement. This opener needs to be something that is catchy, it opens the eyes of the audience. It actually takes the attention of the audience. Now, this is an example that I'm giving you. And remember the statement of purpose that I mentioned earlier? This is also another example. In this case, we're talking about something on the importance of breakfast for students in particular. Next, let's look at the preview of the main points. Remember the ones that you have listed earlier? This is how you do it. And then the transition. Remember to do the transition between your introduction and what's coming next, which is the body. Okay? So I'm going to show you the body of the template that I'm showing you. Okay, so this is an example of how you could do your first argument. Remember, I mentioned earlier that you have already listed the points that you're trying to make, and from these points, expand further. Each of these points need to actually explain the point that you're trying to make. Now, let's look at another one, which is boost brain power in this example. Again, when you have your point, you expand. In this example, it shows that you are actually giving 2 points. And let me show you, there's also a third point in your argument, which is the test score. So within this one argument, you're actually trying to make 3 statements, and then you are trying to explain each of these statements. Next, let's move on to the transition and our second argument. We're doing the same thing. Remember to always have a catchy transition. Why? Because then you would want people to come back to you if, they may drift away. Next, let's look at another example, which is the conclusion. So this is a summary of what you could do. Again, briefly re-mention of the points that you made earlier on, and then remember the memorable concluding remarks that you need to make in order to give that impact to your audience. Okay, so now it is your turn to use this template when you're giving your speech persuasively. Good luck and have a try.